Tocino, tocino, tocino. You know
See?
what I like? You know what I like about today?
What's that?
We're gonna twist things up because we've been talking about so much dating and how dating is. But you know what? There's some careers that as much as you want to date and you want to be part of real life, it's hard. And I'm not talking about the girl that you picked up last night or you tried to pick up last night. I'm talking about the things that some poor people, and I'm not talking financially, I'm talking like emotionally, they have to endure. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Yeah, let's find out what's happening.
Bueno, mi gente, bienvenidos, bienvenidos. Welcome in, welcome in. It's your boy DJ Mendez bringing you another one of these beautiful abiertos that we do having some fun. And you know what? Today, Bacon is in and out, out and in. He's having trouble with his computer because he likes to play with things, and I think he's been watching things he's not supposed to. For some reason, I have an idea. Ever since he got his PC back up and running, there's been a lot of hand lotion being purchased. So I'm gonna bring him into the show, see how he's feeling and how things are going. But you know what the best part is? We've got a very special guest in today that's going to explain to us why hand lotion is important, where he's hiding at right now. Tocino!
Hi, everybody. Yes.
Sound like a dirty old man right now.
Before we start anything, major shout out to my co-host that seems to know what's happening when it's not happening. Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing today? Huh?
Apparently, I'm the one that needs to go buy some hand lotion because they're pretty dry after.
No, I don't know. For some reason, my computer just said, "Oh snap! You've been on too long. Reload." And
You know why I did that, right?
these are the breaks. I don't want to know it. I don't know. So
Listen,
I'm going there.
well, you've been going a lot of places, but we're not going to go where you want to go right now. You know what? Stop making it about you and me today. We've got a very special guest.
Mm-hmm.
He's up very, very late. He is doing his thing. You know what? He's going to give us a bit of light because we were watching his podcast. He is the host of I Bought a Mic. Check him out here on YouTube. Follow him. Give him some love. Give the man some love. You know what? We have to see the difference of things. But before I keep on rambling on, let's bring Josh on in. Hello, Josh. How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Well, we're very thrilled and happy to have you here. And yes, I'm with Bacon.
Yeah.
For all the hard work and everything you do, we give it up to you. I understand you're not part of our service.
Not in the time zone.
Oh no, the time zone's okay. We can deal with that as long as you can.
Yeah.
My thing on it is, you are in the military, correct?
Correct.
And you are not Canadian.
Yeah.
So, see, we can be friends. People need to understand this. We can be friends with the States. I don't know, and I'm not going to get into the whole political thing, but you know what? I admire what you're doing, and I'm not going to get too much into it because we're not here to talk about that. But hats off to you, and you know what? The country owes you and all those that work with you, around you, serve a heck of a lot of love and respect. I'm big on that. Like I was telling you before we started, Grandpa was in the Army. I respect it. I love it. There's no way with my pudgy figure I'm going to get into it. But you guys do a lot and you risk yourselves a lot. And that's one thing Bacon and I were talking about earlier today because we watched some of your shows. And it's really harsh when you're doing your thing and all of a sudden deployment happens. In many occasions, you guys don't get an option.
No. Sometimes it happens on the spare. a lot of times we can sign up for it. It kind of just depends on the situation.
So how does that affect your love life, your dating life, your relationships?
Oh, that's a good one. So it depends. That's a very sticky situation because you can have two sides on the fence here. You can have the one who is not supporting at all, and which happens way too often. And basically, it's just like, say hypothetically, you get picked to go on the deployment, you don't have the choice. Well, a lot of relationships end up either failing or like they end up cheating, and like, a lot of divorce happens because it's just like a lot of people need like that compatibility, like that physical like being there, and because they're torn, overseas or wherever they may be, it's just they're missing their piece of that puzzle, and they can't seem to handle it. And then you have the good side, which is the one who's very supportive, and they're like, hey, this is what I signed up for. I know that I'm dating someone who's military, and you can get told to go wherever the case is tomorrow. And it happens. It's been a couple times where like I've had like a 24-hour turnaround, and it's basically like, hey, you're going on this mission at this time. You have 2 days to get ready and pack for however long, and you're going, and it's just like, well, now I got to go back and I got to say, hey, like this is I was our famous words are we're voluntold. So it's not like we're volunteering, we're voluntold to go do this mission. And it's just like, well, you're either going to support me or you're not. And for the most part, I've had a lot of support. As far as I was never, I had like one other relationship that was, we had basically like, I guess you can call it an in-country deployment, because it was all over the news. We ended up going to DC, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and it was a struggle because she, even though I was still in the country, she was just like, oh, well, you're gone for months at a time, and it's just like, I want to come visit you, and blah 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 blah. So it's just like you get you get both sides. You get the sides that end up failing, which happens to probably 50%, and then you get the supportive side, which is the other 50%. So it's kind of like you have to find that correct significant other who can be, the supportive side and be part of the journey, because it's just like when you date or marry someone who's military, you are adopting the lifestyle.
Wow, wow, that's hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's not easy.
Um, how does that affect you mentally?
Ooh. Um so the one thing with basic training is they definitely break you down and then build you back up so that way you can handle stuff mentally. Does that work with everyone? No. Does it work with the majority of us? Yes. The new generation coming in, maybe not so not, but definitely the older generation can handle it a lot better. Um, Mentally, it's the best way I can say to be able to handle it is you almost have to become numb to the fact of what's going on. Because if you are in your head and you're like, I don't want to be here, I don't want to go home, I want to go home, you have to make the best of the situation. So another phrase that I'm going to say that comes with that is called embrace the suck. So it's a big famous saying, especially in the army, is embracing the suck, as in just you're embracing how bad the situation is, and you need to make the absolute best of it. And that's where the whole mental thing comes in. It's just like, okay, I'm away from my family, I'm away from my significant other, I'm away from home, whatever the case is. How do I make this better? And a lot of that has to do with your battle buddies, your comrades. You have to be able to talk to them and be like, hey, i need I need this mental support, especially if I'm having a bad day. And a lot of them will just kind of like push aside what they're doing, and they'll be like, hey, talk to me, what's going on, how can I help, I'm here for you. It can be very heartbreaking, honestly.
Oh, I'll be honest with you, that's something I don't want to imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot. It really is.
But that's one thing to commend you in what you're doing, because me personally, when I was watching some of your videos, it's like I was telling Mendez, it's almost like you bring the the realness of what's happening, regardless of what's happening. So me personally, I took what I took from that is you bring out the normal in the people who are around you with your buddies and everything else, despite the fact that you're in a situation where it's life or death. And you have your family, you're thinking of your friends and others who support you and love you, and the realness of that is what got me, because I literally sat there and watched, and I'm like, it's almost like you're at home in your living room or you're at a bar with your boys. You know what I mean? And that's the comfort level that you brought to it while talking about the stuff that's happening. That's what I gained the respect with. I was like, wow, despite the fact like mentally you got to be tough to be able to even deal with that, mind you, being out there doing it every day or for the time that you're out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kudos to that for real.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I definitely I tried to make it a point to, I was just like, the on the first experience that I've never seen, because like I told you guys before, I just started podcasting. This is very fresh to me, but I was just like, I've never heard of someone doing one as far as like almost like a live situation. Like you hear all these veterans that come on and be like, okay, I went on this deployment, I did this. I went on that deployment, I did this. And, I had all these situations. So I'm like, well, these are all post deployment. What if I do one while we're on deployment and bring these guys on and say, hey, how are you doing? How's it going? What's your future plan for this? Like, what was your expectations? And I'm like, I feel like this is going to be something a lot different. And on top of that, this was a new unit for me. So I was just like, not only am I going to be able to create a podcast, but now I'm going to be able to create a bond with the guys that I barely know. So that was probably a big thing for me.
Yeah. Some of the in your videos I saw you made connections, made friends, and like it just goes to say, like, brothers that are unknown become brothers in time, and it's admirable to watch that, people who come together as strangers and they're in a situation where they gotta rely on each other, trust each other, be there for one another mentally, and in the concepts that you're in, and you become stronger from that. And that's always a blessing in my eyes, because of the fact, again, the situations that you're in, like, you guys need one another, even though you may feel that you don't.
You got to push and make the best of every bad situation. It's we have a lot of bad things that tend to happen, and it's just like, as bad as it can be, you just got to laugh at it. That's how you get through the day.
Yeah. Awesome.
Have you ever had to take somebody by the hand during a breakup?
Ooh, I haven't had to take someone like physically by the hand, but mentally, we've yeah, I mean, we go back and forth, honestly, because it's like I can say the same thing, like me talking with my battle buddies, and it's not easy at all, because not only are you here dealing with the stuff going on, but then you're dealing with the stuff back home, and it's like people can be very down, especially the ones who try to hide it, because we try to stay as tough as we can, honestly. So, for someone to come up to you and be like, hey, I need some emotional support, or this is what's going on, we try to pull these people aside and be like, hey, at like the end of the workday, like, I'm going to come see you, and we're going to hash this out. We're going to talk and figure out what's going on. I'm going to try to give you advice. You take it with a grain of salt, however you are, because like, I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but like, here is my advice to you, because I've either been in this situation, or I can see maybe this advice working. So we don't have like any like major breakdowns, we'll say. I mean, I actually have one person here who actually just came, she got a divorce right before she came on, and she was a mess. And it's just like we all tried to come together and just say, hey, like, we're here for you. we or anything you need, let us know. Like she needed like get help like move stuff out of her house, dealing with her kid, and it's just like the amount of times that we have all come as a team and just offered and be like, hey, you are not alone. You're here with us. If you need help, just ask. And it's just that's what you got to do.
Oh, and that's amazing because you know what, you see it so many times that portrayed in the movies that you guys are very very rough on each other, very demanding on each other. But reality is, you guys in the army, in the military, in whichever facet of it is, you guys end up becoming very close. Be it me, male, female, or whatever part of the alphabet you want to be nowadays. You guys are very close and very helpful with each other. Very, it's not just a friend bond with you guys. You guys turn into a family.
Yeah, yeah. It's the military is a, I don't want to call it a cult, but it's almost kind of like a cult. You know what I mean? It's like a brotherhood of just like, if you're gonna go visit like another country or like another state, like like for me, so like I'm born and raised in Massachusetts, and I can go to California, and I don't know anybody. You know what I mean? Never been there, don't have any connections, but I go on one of their military bases, and no matter who I talk to, I see someone in uniform, they're gonna treat me like family. They have no idea who I am, and they're gonna treat me like family.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's very, very. I love that. Um, so I bought a mic. I want to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Why? Why the name?
So it's a long story. It's a very long story. I'll try to make it a little short. So I have a mental disability that is, I have ADHD, processing disorder, anxiety, and working memory deficit. And because of that, I struggle with a lot of jobs. I have probably gotten fired from 90% of the jobs that I've had. I've been a mechanic for probably like the last 15 years on the civilian side. And I just struggle with like the memory loss. I like I'll be working on someone's vehicle, whatever the case is, and like I tend to forget like what I just did, or like I make mistakes, and it's just years and years and years of just like I can't seem to hold a job, and it sucks. It absolutely sucks. The longest job that I've ever been able to hold is the military, because you can't really get fired, you can just get kicked out. So that's part of the reason why I'm still in, amongst other reasons. And it was about a year ago. I got laid off again for like the last time. And instead of just hopping back into my next job, I was just like, I need to take a step back. I need to like just collect unemployment and just so I could pay the bills, and say, hey, what I need to change my career, because this is not happening. Like, what I'm doing is just, there needs to be a change in my life. And so I was just like, I have really not like no other experience with what's going on other than mechanic and like being mechanically inclined. But like I'm tired of wrenching. I'm tired of doing stuff that like I know I'm going to get let go from. And I'm like, I need something that is very, very easy to do, that is not going to affect someone else's life or day, like like working on someone's car or whatever. So it's like, that's kind of like a two-person job. I'm working on it, it's their vehicle, and I need to do something I'm good at, and something that I can't really mess up, or even if I do like mess up a little bit, it's not going to affect me in a serious way. And I just, I don't know, kind of like just took a step back, and I was just like, the one thing that I know that I'm good at is talking to people. I'm like, okay, so what can I do as a job, or something that I could grow like experience with talking? And I was just like, and the funny thing is I didn't have much experience with podcasting at all. I've just like heard about it on the radio. I've like seen people talk, and I was just like, maybe I should start a podcast. And it was kind of like a joke at first, and I was just like, but maybe this is something that I might actually consider doing. And I was just like, you know what? Okay. I end up going out and buying all the equipment, and just like setting everything up, like learning everything from scratch. And I finally got everything set up, And it's just like, okay, I like was going on like the Facebook pages saying like, you know, you got to pick a niche, and like I'm not one to stick to one subject at all. I just never been able to, especially with ADHD. I'm always bouncing around, and I was just like, I can't just stick to one thing. So what do I do, and what do I call this podcast? And I was just like, I'm like sitting here. I had a list, like a list of names, because like I also do like line dancing, and I'm like a line dance instructor. So that was just like, you know, I was just like trying to think of like, you know, Boots and Mike, or just like Boots and something, or Cowboy, whatever the hell it was, like anything I could possibly think of. And I was just like, I'm sitting here, and I'm like, I don't know, what the hell did I do? I started something, and I bought a microphone, and I'm like, son of a bitch, I bought a mic. And that's how it stuck. And like, I was just like, it was just so simple, and just like, I don't know, I've never seen anyone else do something that was just so plain, I guess. And it just like, it kind of stuck. And then I had a few people that I'm like, oh, you should change it to like your last name, because like and just like, you know, your last name and show. And I was like, okay, I'm like, that might be a good idea too, so let's put it up for like a vote. And I put it on like a bunch of pages and stuff like that. And it was almost a 50-50 draw, but I had more people that liked my classic name, because they're like, you know, it's so plain that it's hilarious, because it's just like, it's kind of like, you know, like you're at a job, right? And people are just like, oh, what's going on? And you're like, I don't know, I just work here. And I'm just like, and I'm like, you know, that's kind of funny. I'm like, that literally put a smile on my face. It's just like, yeah, I'm just here, I bought a mic. And I was just like, I think I'm just going to stick with it. I mean, I can always change it down the road, but I was just like, it's kind of fitting. I don't have like a straight niche. You know, I'm doing stuff like on deployment and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's just like, okay, the deployment lasts like a year, right? So when I come home, we're not going to be on deployment anymore. So that niche is kind of going to fade away. So it's just like, now I'm going to have to stick to something else. And I'm going to have to, I can do like a post-deployment stuff. I can talk to people on deployment, but it's not on deployment. It's not like what I originally started with. And so it's just like, so between trying to find a niche, trying to find what to talk about, I'm like, I wanted to set myself up for success in the way that I do things, which is not sticking to the subject typically. So I was just like, I need something where I can be myself and move around from subject to subject, and not have to worry about, oh, well, I need to stick to a certain niche and stick to a certain something. Because it's just like, my brain, having a mental disability, I'm a mess. So I'm everywhere. So why not have a name that I can just stick with being a mess, you know, and just going everywhere?
That's awesome. And when I saw the name, it resonated, because it's a unique name. And just hearing the name, and it's if I just close my eyes, and after I saw the title of your thing, I bought a mic, it'd be like, I would think of you as a person that literally would have your mic and go anywhere and everywhere just to randomly talk to people and get an idea of what's on their mind, or how their day's going. And you'd get those reactions where, you know, hey, what are you doing? Get out of my face. Or you get people that would come up and actually say, man, you know what? I'm doing this, and this. And, you know, because at the end of the day, from how I look at it, like, there's two sets of people. There's people who like to talk and express themselves, and there's others that not so much. But just the uniqueness of that name, I can picture that. So as hilarious as it sounds to me like you have an interest in what people are up to and what they're about or what they're doing, and that can be something that can really, really put you on the map, so to speak. You know, if you get what I'm saying. Like, it's a really unique name that I was like, what? I bought a mic. I was like, oh, fuck. Because I go to work tomorrow. Say, man, I went to work. I was like, hey, you ever see this guy say he bought a mic? For what? I don't know. Got a 2-minute check. But that's what it is. It's totally, and it's awesome. Like, I was telling Mendez, like, this guy's onto something. I know it's just, right now it's direct because of where you're at and what you're doing. But like you just mentioned, if your deployment's done, you're at home, you can make this into something very, very big for yourself. Yeah. And I commend you for that, because, you know, the littlest things that we don't think are, they come out to be. So, if you get what I'm saying, so
Yeah,
it's
I appreciate it.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Why is it I'm getting a mental image that I'm seeing Josh run around at a base with the mic running around after some big head honcho. This Josh, I bought a mic, blah, 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 blah. Colonel, can you explain why?
Yes, yeah. See, Mendes, you hit it on the head, bro. I'm telling you. It's the mind. The mind is a very very powerful thing, and sometimes, like I said earlier, like you do something or you make up a name or think of something, and the effect of it afterwards. You'd be like, wow, who would have thought? Who would have thought? So
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
and that,
it was funny because there was just so many different interests, and they're like, why don't you pick this name? Why don't you pick that name? And it's just like, for one, I know a lot of people that have their last names for like a podcast or for a show, so it's like I didn't want to do that, and then so my last name is already someone back home who was famous, who actually has his own show. So when I had put that on my Facebook saying like, oh hey, should I pick my original name or should I put like my last name and show, and everyone's just like, no, don't do that because they're going to get confused because someone already has that last name, and I was just like, okay, fair enough, and I was just like, I'm going back and forth, just trying to figure this out, and I'm like, I should probably just stick to my name because I picked it out, I liked it, and I can just kind of run with it.
It
oh
works,
man,
man. You hit it right on the money.
I appreciate it. It's nice to know that other people can get enjoyment out of it and a laugh.
well, I'm just gonna say right off the bat on real time, my screen just froze, so I can't see you guys. I can hear you guys. I'm
It's
gonna,
okay. You know what the best part about this is right now? You're looking all sexy with a smile, like you're kind of into Josh. But wait till the episode. The thing is, see, his poor PC keeps on giving him a hard time.
Yep.
As we were saying, I love the name. I love the name. When I first heard it, I'm like, yo, we got to do something. And I messaged Bacon. I'm like, listen, I found a guy. He's like, well, what do you mean? Like, watch the videos. And he messages with me. I bought a mic. I'm like, okay, good for you. I didn't put two and two together. And he messages me back like, the podcast. I'm like, a podcast? What podcast? It's like the link you sent me. I'm like, oh shit, yeah. What are we talking about? Yeah, because we've been approached by certain podcasters to see if we could have them on. But we're very, very diligent with who we bring on because we want it to be as original and as open as organic as possible, whoever's going to come on. Because at the end of the day, our concept is to be very open, to be very
Right.
real. We will make fun of anybody and everybody. We're not
Oh.
racist, but we hate everybody the same way.
Oh, that is 100% the military right there. The funny thing is so it's kind of a Massachusetts thing, but it's kind of adopted in the military as well. And it's one of those things where so if we don't know who you are or don't like you, we're typically nice to you. If we know you and like you, we're kind of an asshole to you. So we tease each other, we prank each other, we do all kinds of stupid shit to each other, and that's how we show love.
Yep. That's exactly how it is here. There's been moments that we just like we really, really push boundaries. But like I say to the guys, if we can't push boundaries with each other, we can't push boundaries with the girls that come on board. Why are we here?
Right, exactly.
You gotta have fun with those around you, respectfully. Obviously, like we're not gonna turn around and, well, yeah, we'll embarrass each other.
Of course, you have to embarrass each other.
It's like the rite of passing, if you ask me.
Yes, exactly.
With all that being said, Josh, where do you see yourself with the? Because you were telling me that you're almost at your halfway point before retirement, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So, where do you see yourself with the podcast, relationship wise, in the next X amount of years? What would you like to see yourself and everything come into a nice mesh?
So with at least with the military and stuff like that, just because I'm up for retirement in the next 10 years doesn't mean that I will actually take the retirement. You can still continue to go further than that. But as far as the podcast goes, I've talked to a decent amount of people, and they just kind of like what you said. They see my behavior on it and how I act and how I talk to people, and they say that out of everything that they've talked to me about as far as like what my future plan and goal is, they say that this is me. It's like the physical. What they're saying to me is like this is you. You are so natural at this without really even trying, and you're so like fresh to this, but like you're not staged. You're not like especially like when I'm asking questions, those are all top of my head. I'm not looking at anything. I'm not like I'm not like, oh, okay, I need to focus on like what I'm going to ask. I kind of just roll with it. It's like it's just one of those things where like I'll just ask a question, and then like it could be like dead air space, and then I'm just like, okay, and I got to keep it going, so I ask another question. And it's just like I've after doing it for this March will be my 1 year mark of doing this, and it's just like this is fun. Like I don't like even if I don't even like make money doing this, this is so I enjoy this so much that if I don't make money off of it, I'm not going to stop. Like it's so easy to me. Like just to me personally, it's natural. I enjoy it. I love talking to people. I love meeting new people. I love interviewing people, and it's just like I I can't say anything bad about this. It's just like I'm just going to just keep pushing. I'm going to advertise, and I'm going to have fun. When I started off with just a YouTube channel, and then I put myself on TikTok, and then I did like Instagram. I actually just put myself on Spotify like 3 days ago. This is my first time actually putting myself on Spotify, and it was just like a quick introduction for just kind of like what I was doing, and I was actually going to explain like my life situation with like my mental disabilities and how I'm trying to overcome it and stuff like that. But in the meantime, it's going to be like a mixed podcast because I want to still do the stuff with the guys on deployment while I'm doing it. So it's going to be kind of like a two-in-one, if you will. But I feel like this is going to be a forever thing. I don't want to stop. I love it too much.
That's awesome to hear, man. Honestly, we're on season 2 of Abiertos, and we've gone through the whole what am I doing? Where are we going?
Yeah.
To oh my god, we're doing a double interview today. Oh my god, who can we interview next?
Yep.
We should have asked. We got to bring this person back to do this. I personally feel, and I think Bacon will agree with me with this one. We love what we do. We enjoy this, and we look forward to it. Like literally, we have our 9 to 5s, but when it comes to doing this, it's like you run for it. You make that time, you make that effort, and we get to meet people like you. We get to meet people like you that have bring on a different aspect of things, give us a different view of what life is. Because I mean, yeah, you can have a cousin in the army, but they're not going to tell you nothing. They're not going to open up because it's so. A lot of things that you guys go through is between you guys, and that's it.
Yeah.
And which it's good, it's respectful, but it's kind of sad if you ask me.
Yeah.
Because
No, I agree.
a lot turn around and get scared to speak out. A lot turn around and have fear of speaking out, even of the when they need the help. And it sucks because you could have a friend that's going through PTSD and they're so scared of what the world's going to say that they deal with it on their own. I don't know
Absolutely.
if there's a show that was on Netflix a couple of years ago. What portrayed this, where both him and her, the couple were in the army, and he came back. When he finally came back, he didn't want to fix things. As a friend, how would you deal with something like that?
So it's definitely not an easy situation because like you have people who will like get out of the military, for example, and they are so accustomed to this lifestyle. They when they get out, it becomes like a culture shock, and they don't know their next step. And like so, I'm on a bunch of veteran Facebook pages, and like you'll just randomly see people like post up saying like I can't deal with this anymore. I don't want to live. They're like I got the gun in my hand. I'm gonna pull the trigger, and like there's a lot of civilians who are not allowed on these pages because it's veterans only or military only, and it's like how do you deal with a situation like that? I mean, you get people that will post their phone number saying like, "Hey, call me right now," or "Hey, go put the gun away," or "Hey, like one more day, stick it out one more day, like call me, we'll talk." And it's just like the mental discipline that you have to deal with, just overall, and trying to have someone there for you, whatever the case is. Everyone handles it differently, but everyone treats it the same. So it's just like, are you willing to stick it out? Are you willing to help? I mean, almost everyone I know is willing to help. It's whether you're willing to stick it out, and it's just like you gotta keep pushing. Like it's, you go. Everyone goes to that dark place, especially like in the military, maybe more often than usual. But it's just like, how do you pull yourself out? And it's just like you need to reach out. And it's just like we have phone numbers to call to do it, and it's just like, and it's not easy with that either, because it's just like, oh well, some people have the mindset of like, no one's gonna help me, and it's just like, well, someone will help you. It's just, are you willing to take the help? And it sucks, because some people just they want an easy way out.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but it is nice to hear that there is others willing to help and be there for each other.
Definitely.
So I'm gonna switch things up a little bit here.
Okay.
We are recording this on Super Bowl Sunday. This is going to air quite a bit after Super Bowl Sunday. However, I want to know what you are predicting. Who do you think is going to win? And well, once we have this up, we're definitely going to know if you were right or wrong.
So I'm a terrible person to talk about football. I'll tell you straight up the bat, because I don't follow it at all. But a lot of people are projecting that the Chiefs are going to win. So that's right. The Chiefs and the Eagles are playing. Yeah. So a lot of people are. It's kind of like a both way. So I've heard a lot about the Chiefs, and I have a feeling they might pull it. Personally, I'm a Pats fan, from New England. So I'm kind of more in it for the commercials, because the commercials are hilarious.
Right.
But
the best commercials ever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially because my team isn't in it, I'll literally go just for the commercials.
Oh, man.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Bacon, what are you saying?
Well, for the Super Bowl, I'm kind of on the fence. I want the Eagles to win, just because of the close game the last time that they had in the Super Bowl, and they didn't get to pull it out. But the reason why I want to see the Chiefs to win, because I'm all about the dynasties, and they have an opportunity to make history by winning it for for a three-peat. So that's always something, no matter what you feel about the team, it's always something good to see happen, And despite with all the differences they have with the Chiefs and the refs, and they're this and they're that, at the end of the day, they got there, and they're there for a reason. Just like the Eagles are there for their reason. So if they weren't the best at what they did, then they wouldn't have been there, and it would have been another set of teams. But it should be a good game tonight. So, but me personally, I want the Eagles to win.
I'm looking for a new co-host.
Oh, good to chat.
You know what? I grew up and I love the Cowboys, and everybody knows why all men love the Cowboys.
I know. Let me tell you something. I don't know much about football, but I know that I hear the Cowboys suck.
Oh, Dun, 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 like my Raiders.
I grew up in a household where my cousin actually tried out for the Raiders, and I can't care less for the Raiders. I'm a Cowboys fan, and I will never deny it. The reason why I became a Cowboys fan is because I was about 13 years old. The Cowboys were winning, and I saw a bunch of beautiful women. I'm like, that's my team.
Mhm.
And ever since then, I haven't changed that. However, if anybody says Philly's gonna win anything, you know what I say to people that like Philly? You really want to know? So, Josh, let's continue with the interview.
All
Just
right.
you and I. I think we're gonna keep those Philadelphia.
It's just like, oh, I'm coming back.
Oh,
I
man.
don't like you right now, Bacon.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
If they win, Bacon,
I'm not going to say nothing at all, my friend. That's all.
I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna hurt you.
If
No,
they say nothing, I'll just say you and then say EAGLES, Eagles, Eagles. Go, 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 go. But yeah.
no.
But Josh, you know what? There's something I wanted to ask you because I want to see where this goes in regards to this question I ask you.
Uh-oh.
What you're doing right now and the impact that I know you probably feel that you're providing with what you're doing. What was your reason for joining the military? Like, what was your I say when I say what was your reason, like why you joined, and how have you grown from the time you've been there comparing to the I guess the gratification of what you're doing now and its effects in between.
So the biggest reason I joined, I was kind of in the same situation that I'm currently in now. Um, I was struggling with jobs because going back to a terrible mental disability, and I was just job hopping, job to job to job, and I at the time, like even before any of this happened, I always promised myself that if I ever got to the point where I was like mentally done with life, that I promised myself I would never commit suicide. I promised myself I would drop what I was doing, I'd get up and go, and I would move and just start a whole new life. Well, I had reached the point of depression because I was just like, I can't keep a job. I'm just struggling to pay my bills, whatever the case is. And I had hit that point, and I'm like, hey, don't go there, don't go there. And I needed a way out. I needed an escape, and I didn't know how to get it. I had at the time my buddy was in the military, and he had joined, and I was asking him like a bunch of questions because I was just I don't know, I was curious. I was just like, hey, what's like, what do you do? How do I, like, it's something that like maybe I'd be interested in, whatever the case is. And he's just like, what makes you interested? I need a way out. Like I need something. I need a free ride out. And I ended up connecting with him. He connected me with a recruiter. He ended up telling me like what I needed to do to join. And next thing you know, I was signing the dotted line. I didn't even tell my parents until after the fact. And I, come home, and my mom didn't even believe it. She's like, "Yeah, okay. Like you didn't do that. Like you're, growing up, you're too nervous to do anything with your anxiety." And I was just like, "Oh, I'm not kidding. I actually did it." But okay. And like it was 2 months that went by, just going to doing like the regular training before I actually left for basic training. And I was just like, hey, like today's the day I'm leaving. And recruiter came up, and she's just like, oh shit, you weren't kidding. And I left. And it was just, it was a huge life change. Um, Best thing I ever did, honestly. Absolutely sucks. And I love it at the same time. It is 100% built me to be a better person. Um, the bonds that I have grown with people is amazing. I would never have the opportunity to connect with people or to grow like I do now, being in the military. It's like this is not something that you will ever get on the civilian side, no matter what job you have. The camaraderie, the just like people helping you out, and it's just like growing the opportunities you have, the benefits that you have. People want to like show you how to progress. For the most part, everyone's a little different, and yeah, I mean I've recommended it to people to join, but at the same time I've discouraged people from joining because you have to be mentally prepared for it. It's not a joke. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna do it, and it's just like this is your livelihood. Like this is not something where you can just make your own decisions and be like, oh, I'm gonna quit my job. No. You're stuck for a while for your contract. It's not like a permanent contract, but when you sign up for so many years, you have to fulfill those years, and if you try to get out, it can affect you in not a good way. But yeah, I for someone who is trying to escape, someone who's trying to gain like that brotherhood, I would 100% recommend joining the military if you are ready for if you're ready for that type of commitment, because it is definitely it's 100% changed my life, and I would do it all over again.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. It's. I commend you for what you've done, and basically what you're doing now is your way of giving back. And I'm pretty sure whomever listens to your podcast and you reach out to will definitely honor and respect what you're doing, because this is your way of showing that, hey, I'm here, I haven't given up, I've grown, I'm empowered, and I want to help those if and when they need it anytime. And that's always something that I can respect and commend on without effort. So I commend you on that. That's something really really big. And man, I'm gonna watch more of your podcast and be in tune. Like I'm serious. Like I'm gonna subscribe and everything else, and I'll make sure I'll do whatever I can to make sure people know about you and others like yourself. Because here at Abiertos, we're here to learn. We laugh, but we also respect and we care. And having someone like yourself on our show, that's an honor and a blessing in itself.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Real talk.
Bacon.
Yes, sir.
Before we hang up with Josh today,
Yeah.
I need you to get his barber's number.
Okay.
He's got a better barber than you do right about now.
You're the one to talk with that halfway high top you got going over there, bro.
So, listen, I haven't even tried to see the barber. Okay, I'm gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend, and I'm gonna. No, my barber and I are not. I'm not on talking terms right now.
What had happened was I had to miss my appointment, so I had to. Hey, Josh, this is what we do on an everyday basis, man. Like, it's one of those things, man, where we bring smiles to our faces and smile to others. And hey, man, like I said, I'll definitely listen to your podcast, spread the word, and man, it's been a real one having you on our show today. You know, as I can say on behalf of my guy here, but yeah, man, definitely, it's an honor to meet you.
I have another podcast. It's called The Hot Seat, La Silla Caliente, which I interview a lot of different people on, and I put them on the spot. I question things. I question their livelihood. I question what they eat. I question everything. And we've broken some people. We've made some people cry. We've made some people scream. We've made some people have emotional relief. So we're going to hot seat you for a couple of questions. We're going to give you 5 questions between Bacon and I. So Bacon, start using your brain.
For sure.
You know it's going to hurt.
You're so funny.
Oh, you're so funny, emotional. So, well, after the 5 questions, you're allowed to plead the 5th on one.
Okay.
Only one. Okay, we won't go into as in depth as we would on the hot seat because We know not to. We know better. Plus, we don't have that much time left in the show. Bacon, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
You start.
Okay. Don't think. This has to be answered right from your heart.
Okay.
Your favorite food that the Army provides you?
Well, it's definitely not an MRE. Well, right now, a lot of the food is the same on a daily basis, unfortunately. I'd probably have to say the chicken.
So I'll reverse that with a question: your favorite food that the Army does not provide for you?
That depends on the situation, because yeah. So my favorite food that the Army does not provide for me, Chinese food.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting.
All right.
I'm a big hibachi guy. I love hibachi.
Oh, yeah. Now
Yes,
you're talking.
yes, sir. Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
What, what has been your most memorable moment with your podcast to this date?
My most memorable podcast has probably been, honestly, my last one, my most recent one that I actually just posted. I believe I posted it today. It was I had a guest battle buddy who came on. I tried to get him on like two different occasions, but he just was, I don't know if he was ignoring me or just had like busy, like, going on. And I had my, quote unquote co-host or whatever that's been helping me out with this. And so me and him were just kind of going back and forth talking. And we were making a joke. It's like, oh, he bailed on us again. And then about 8 minutes into the podcast, he decides to come into the building. And we all just like we razzed the hell out of him because he's like, "Oh, look who finally showed up!" And then we start clapping, and then we have the guys in the back who were just watching the podcast. They get in, they start clapping, and it was just the whole scene. Like everyone was just clapping, and he's just like, "Oh, finally, whatever, come on in." Oh, it's hilarious. You got to watch the whole thing. And they're like, "All right," it's like, "What have you been doing?" Like, "We've been waiting for your ass. Like, what the hell, man? Like, get in here." And he just, comes over, and I was just like, "You gonna make over?" And he's like, "Hold on a minute." I'm like, "Oh, we gotta wait for him again. Here we go." So we just kind of started talking back and forth. He went to go to the kitchen. Another 5 minutes comes back. He comes in, and then we just kind of harassed the shit out of him. And it was four of us all together, and basically, like, we were laughing before, but as soon as he came on, like, that entire podcast was basically just stuff that happens at drill that he pulled pranks with people on, and the whole time we were just laughing. It was a absolute blast. I love that podcast. He's actually on a mission right now, but when he comes back, he's like, "Oh, dude, I got more stories to tell you. Like, we're gonna come back on." And I'm like, "Yes."
There you go.
That's awesome.
Bacon.
Well, what would out of the podcast that you started up to this point, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned from one of your guests that you've had on your show?
From one of my guests, okay. The biggest lesson I would have to say, I actually have kind of a tie between two. The first one would definitely be someone who needs to speak up a little bit louder and clearer. Because I had one guy on who kind of like did some mumbling. So I'm like, okay, I don't know if I just need to turn up my microphone. Mind you, the situation I'm in, I only have one microphone because I couldn't bring my entire setup on a deployment, because that would have been a whole duffel bag worth of stuff, and it's just we're limited on what we can bring. So I literally brought my portable stuff with me, so I have to make do with what I have. And I'm like, and so it's like I'm like, after the whole thing, I was just like, I'm like, you gotta learn to speak up a little bit. And he's just like, "Oh, that's just how I talk." I'm like, "I get it, but like either I'm gonna have to put the microphone closer to you or whatever the case is. Like you gotta speak up." And then we ended up having another guy come on and kind of hype him up a little bit, and that helped. So doing a one-on-one with him wasn't the greatest, but having someone who would talk him up and get him a little bit louder and more excited helped. So that's number one. And then number two, the other guy who I had come on as my ghost. Yeah, okay. It's nighttime. I'm getting tired here. He had a hard time staying on subject, and not that I have, not that it's an issue with me because we bounce around so much, but it was more of a, I was actually interviewing another guy, and I don't know if he just got like bored of the interview or he just wasn't excited with it, but like I was, you're supposed to, from what I've been learning, engage as a duo to your one guest and like kind of stay a little bit on the subject. And the other guy, like I was doing fine. I was back and forth with him, whatever the case is. But then the other one just kind of just switched the subject completely, totally something random. And I'm like, okay, now I have to recover from this. And I was just like, I made it do because I was just like, I'm making this as realistic as possible. So I'm not going to edit anything. But it was just like, we need to, it's okay to bounce around, but it's one thing to bounce around for like a minute or so and then come back. It's another thing to change the whole subject entirely and stop talking to the guest. And I'm like, that doesn't look too good, but hey, you got to make mistakes in order to learn.
Very true.
Beautiful. Last question for you, Josh.
Okay.
Be on those cold and lonely nights, how do you guys deal with, or how do you personally deal with your relationship, your love, and communicating with that possible significant other, if you don't have one, or working on a relationship?
That is my probably biggest struggle at the moment. So having a girlfriend back home is not easy, um, especially in different time zones. So like her hours are way different than mine, and it's like I am about halfway through my day by the time she's waking up, and then she has to set time away from her schedule to call me before I like go to bed or like try to text me like when I'm waking up, and it's you have to learn to just set aside time for each other. Definitely keep the biggest thing for us is probably texting because that's something that you can do all day long, and it's just like I'll be in the middle of work and I could send a text, whatever the case is. So texting is probably the number one thing as far as communication goes, because you have to be able to show some form of communication back and forth when it's harder to do with just like a phone call. So we make it work as best as we possibly can.
Awesome. Awesome. You know what? That's amazing to hear that she's willing to make the effort to be there with you for this. That's I don't know her. I probably will never meet her, but you know what? Just for what she's done, we appreciate her. So we've come to the end of the show, unfortunately. But I'd love to have you back on at some point, Josh, because it seems like you've got a lot of great stories and a lot of amazing things that are coming up, especially with your podcast. Don't forget to send us the link so we can put it up there on the description and anything else you'd like us to put up. Mi gente, don't forget to follow Josh. Give him that love. Give him that TLC, because we all need to grow. And as much as we love and hate the algorithm, every single one of those likes, every single one of those comments, every single one of you subscribing to a channel helps all of us grow. And if you're watching from Josh's end and you want to come on and talk, let us know. We'll have you. We'll be more than glad to have it. Almost anybody on the show. The only thing we don't talk about on the show, okay, we try not to talk about, is religion and politics. I mean, who doesn't want to talk about politics right now? It's a funny game that people are playing, but that's another story. So at the end of the show, one thing we do, Mr. Josh, is we give everybody an opportunity to thank, give their likes, give their whatever they need to give out at that moment. So we'll put the mic on you, and don't leave afterwards while we want to have a conversation with you.
All right. Hey, thank you guys for allowing me to come on here. Thank you for everyone who was listening. I'm relatively new with this podcast. I'm about to hit my 1 year mark. I just started my Spotify. So if you guys could, follow me on Spotify, follow me on YouTube, I greatly appreciate it. And, everyone who's listening or is willing to help support me in, my further future career, hopefully with this to kind of help me out, it would be so much greatly appreciated.
You ran away.
No.
Oh, bacon. So, mi gente, we have come to the end of the show, and you know what? I really appreciate Josh and everything he's doing. Bacon, you're doing this to me today, brother. So, what you guys understand one thing? Love isn't easy no matter which way we handle it, whether we're right next door to each other or we're millions of miles away. But as long as you're making the effort, you're willing to put in the time, doesn't matter if you're on this end of it or the other end of it, it's worth it. And it'll just make it that much more special for you. For those of you in the Army, the military, the Navy, Air Force, whichever aspect it is, we from Abiertos want to thank you and show you appreciation. Doesn't matter for which country you're fighting, for what part of the world you're in, but we appreciate you because at the end of the day, you guys are all fighting and standing up for, in some cases, not by choice, but because it's what's demanded out of you. You're deployed sometimes without being given an opportunity to say, hey, I want to be here for my child. Or my parents are not okay. So remember, we are here for you. If you guys need any love, any attention, you guys want to speak, you guys want to speak out, we're more than willing to have you guys. We're more than willing to listen. And there's always an opportunity. Don't think that today is your last day. Don't think that today is going to be the moment that you need to say goodbye. Make your goodbye be the goodbye that is meant to be for you, not because you choose it. Somebody's here to help. Somebody's here to love you. And more importantly, somebody needs you. We need you. You are valued. You are loved. And you know what? Just like bacon that keeps on popping in and out. We love you too.
I love you too, Mendez. Yes, sir. Huh? But hey, you see, at the end of the day, this is why I love. Again, I love the title of the podcast. I bought a mic. So all my listeners and my viewers, like, take in what's happened today. We are all born with that mic, whether we realize it or not. We have an opportunity to speak our minds, speak our opinions, and have that voice for change, whether it's good or bad, depending on who's listening. So make sure you turn your mic up and let the people know that around you that you love them, you appreciate them. And or if there's someone that's on the negative side with you, let them know, hey, you know what? Some things you're doing is not right. Hopefully you find some way to correct it. But always show that appreciation and love within yourself so you can show it to others. And, I want to do a special shout out to Josh here who, gave us a good time for us to speak with him and be a part of his journey, as we all want to be a part of others' journey so we can all build up together. Because no one's ever alone when it comes to something. And if you choose to be alone, always know there is help out there. And there is someone that will say, hey, how can I help you? So once again, I bought a mic. I've always had one. And everybody, you have one too. So make sure we use it for positive in this world so we can change and be better. MC Bacon salute. You already know what it is. Have a good one. Till next time.